Hey everybody, today we are going to go over a calculator portion of an SAT math test. Even though this particular test allows a calculator, most of the problems on this test would probably be easier and faster done without, but we are allowed to use it when we need it. So on the first page, you'll always have these formulas. We don't use most of them. You won't use them often, but they are there for us to look back to if we need it. Okay, so let's jump into page 2. Problem number 1. John runs at different speeds at part of his training program. The graph shows his target heart rate at different times during his workout. On which interval is the target heart rate strictly increasing and then decreasing? Between 0 and 30 minutes. So from here to here, it's increasing and then it's flat. It's not increasing or decreasing, so that's not it. Between 40 and 60 minutes, it is increasing, it is decreasing. Okay, so strictly increasing, then strictly decreasing. It's increasing, then decreasing. No flattening out between. Option B is correct. If y equals k times x, where k is a constant, and y is 24 when x is 6, what is the value of y when x is 5? So first let's start with these two values. Y is 24 when x is 6. Okay, 24 divided by 6 is 4, so k is 4. Okay, so what is the value of y when x is 5? We know k is a constant, it is 4, so y equals 4 times x, and x is 5, so y is 20 when x is 5. In the figure above, lines L and M are parallel, so these are parallel lines, and lines S and T are parallel. If the measure of angle 1 is 35 degrees, find the measure of angle 2. If angle 1 is 35 degrees, then so is this angle right here, because these are corresponding angles on parallel lines. And because these lines are parallel, this is also 35 degrees, because these are corresponding angles on parallel lines. And then we have a linear pair, 180 minus 35, and that is going to be 145 degrees. And of course, we are allowed to use a calculator, so if you're not sure of your subtraction, 180 minus 35 is 145. If 16 plus 4x is 10 more than 14, let's write an equation. 16 plus 4x is 10 more than 14. What is the value of 8x? So we'll solve for x. So we will subtract this 16. 4x equals 14 plus 10 is 24. Minus 16 is 8. Okay? And then divide by 4, x is 2. Now that's an option right there, but we're not looking for the value of x. Make sure you look back at the question. What's the value of 8x? 8 times 2 is 16. Which of the following graphs best shows a strong negative association between D and T? This association appears to be negative, but the grouping isn't very tight, so I wouldn't call it strong. This one is not a negative association. This one is a very strong positive. Here we have negative, and it's a tight grouping. That is a very strong negative association. A hospital stores one type of medicine in 2 decagram containers. Based on the information given in the box above, how many 1 milligram doses are in the 1 2 decagram container? So there's a 2 decagram container, and 1 decagram is 10 grams, so 2 decagrams would have to be 20 grams. Okay, how many milligrams is that? Okay, so 1 gram is 1,000 milligrams, so 20 grams is 20 times that, which is 20,000 milligrams. Rooftop solar panel installation in 5 cities. So here are the cities, and here are the installations. The number of rooftops with solar panel installations in 5 cities is shown in the graph above. If the total number of installations is 27,500, what is an appropriate label for the vertical axis of the graph? So this is cities. What is this? It's installations in tens, hundreds, thousands, or 10,000s. Okay? So let's just add these up. We've got 9 plus 5 is 14, plus 6 is 20, plus 4 is 24, plus 3.5 is 27.5. So we've got bar graphs reaching up to 27.5. The number of installations is 27,500, so it must be in thousands. For what value of n is the absolute value of n minus 1 plus 1 equal to 0? So absolute value of n minus 1 plus 1 equals 0. So we'll move this over and we get the absolute value of n minus 1 equals negative 1. Hey, an absolute value cannot have a negative output, so there is no such value of n. The speed of a sound wave in air depends on the air temperature. The formula above shows the relationship between A, the speed of the sound wave, in feet per second, and T, the air temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. Which of the following expresses air temperature in terms of speed of a sound wave? So in other words, solve for T. So we need to get T by itself here. Okay, so to get T by itself, we can subtract. We're going to move this over so we get A minus 1052 equals 1.08 T, and then divide by 1.08 to cancel that out. So we get T is A minus 1052 over 1.08. So that would be option A. At which of the following air temperatures will the speed of a sound wave be closest to 1,000 feet per second? So that means A is 1,000. So that's 1,000 minus 1,052 over 1.08 is what temperature? Okay, so here we'll use the calculator. Okay, so we've got 1,000 minus 1,052, then divided by 1.08. We're at negative 48 degrees. Option B is the closest. Which of the following numbers is not a solution of this inequality? So let's solve the inequality. So we'll move that 3x over. We'll also move that minus 3 over. So we have negative 5 plus 3, that's negative 2, is greater than or equal to 4x minus 3x, that's 1x. So we get x is less than or equal to negative 2. One of these is not less than or equal to negative 2, and that would be negative 1. Okay, so we've got a chart here showing the number of seeds in apples. Based on this histogram, which is the closest to the average or the arithmetic mean of the number of seeds per apple. So we need to know how many apples and how many seeds, and we can divide seeds by apples to get the number of seeds per apple. Okay, so this represents the number of apples. So 2 apples plus 4 is 6 apples, 7 apples, 8, 9 apples, 10, 11, 12 apples. So we've got 12 apples. And how many seeds do we have in those 12 apples? So we'll use the calculator to add up the number of seeds. So we have 2 apples that have 3 seeds. I'm going to do that like this. 2 times 3 plus. Then we have 4 apples with 5 seeds plus 1 apple with 6 seeds plus 2 apples with 7 seeds plus 3 apples with 9 seeds. So that's a total of 73 seeds between all the apples. So we're going to do 73 divided by 12. So 73 seeds divided by 12 apples, we get 6.083. So about 6 seeds per apple. Okay, so we've got a chart here showing course enrollment in 3 different math courses by males and females. A group of 10th grade students responded to a survey that asked which math course they were currently enrolled in. The survey data were broken down as shown in the table above. Which of the following categories accounts for approximately 19% of all the survey respondents? So we've got females taking geometry. So let's see, females in geometry, that's 53 out of the 310 who took the survey. Okay, so let's see if that's 19%. 53 divided by 310, we're at about 17%, so that's not it. Females taking Algebra 2, so in Algebra 2 females there are 35 out of the 310 respondents. Okay, so you know what, I did the wrong one there. That's Algebra 1. Algebra 2 is 62. 62 of the 310 respondents. 62 divided by 310 is 0.2, so that's 20%, not 19%. Males in geometry, so geometry males, that's 59 out of the 310. 59 divided by 310 is just about 19%. So it is option C. Okay, length of fish in inches. The table above shows lists the length to the nearest inch of a random sample of 21 brown bullhead fish. The outlier measurement of 24 inches is an error, so this one was a mistake. Of the mean, median, and range of the values listed, which one will change the most if the 24-inch measurement is removed from the data? So what's going to be the difference if I have that in versus out in the mean? Okay, so let's find the mean. Our calculator will help us do this quickly. We've got 8 plus 3 9s plus 2 10s plus 2 11s plus 4 12s plus 3 13s plus 2 14s plus 2 15s plus a 16 and plus a 24. So that's 262 total inches divided by how many fish? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. So divided by 21 fish, we've got an average of 12.47. But what if we went up here, and I'm going to hit enter to bring that back in, and I will delete that last fish of 24 inches. Now it's 238 divided by 20 fish, and we've got an average of 11.9. So 12.47 minus 11.9 is a difference of about 5-7 inches when I remove that 24-inch measurement. Okay, the median, I can quickly just look, and as I count toward the middle, I'm going to be at 12. So either way, with that 24 gone, I'm still probably going to have a median of 12. So I would say no change, which means it's definitely not all changing by the same amount. The range is the highest minus the lowest. 24 minus 8 is the range. But if I take that 24 out, the range becomes 16 minus 8. And I went from 16 for a range to 8. That's a difference of 8. That's a big difference, the biggest of either of the others. Okay, we've got a chart showing the total cost of renting a boat by the hour. Okay, the graph shows the cost C in dollars of renting the boat for H hours. What does C represent in the graph? C is this vertical axis like a y-axis, so basically that's the y-intercept. That's always a starting point. The initial cost. Initial is a starting point. That's it. The initial cost. Which of the following represents the relationship between H and C? So we've got a linear equation, and the y-intercept or the c-intercept is 5. So it's either B or C. I don't like either of these two already. Okay, so there's a y-intercept of 5. Now I need to know the slope. It's either 3/4 or 3. So I'm going to go between 2 points here. And it goes from 5 up to 8. That's a rise of 3. And then this run kind of looks like 4, but it's not because it only goes from 0 to 1. So we have to note that scale. So the rise is 3 and the run is 1. The slope is 3/1 or 3. It is option C. B would have been very tempting here, but we've got to note that scale. The complete graph of the function f is shown in the xy plane above. For what value of x is the value of f of x at its minimum? So find the minimum value on this graph. The lowest value is right there. What is the value of x? It looks like it is 1, 2, 3 to the left. It is -3. In the xy plane, if 0, 0 is a solution to the system of inequalities above, which of the following relationships between A and B must be true? Okay, so if 0, 0 is a solution, I can put in a 0 for y and x, and I get 0 is less than -0 plus a. So 0 is less than a, which tells me that a is a positive number. A is bigger than 0, so a is positive. And I can put a 0 in for x and y here also. 0 is greater than 0 plus b, so 0 is greater than b. Which means b is less than 0, so b is negative. It is absolutely positively true if A is positive and B is negative that A must be bigger than B. A food truck sells salads for $6.50 each and drinks for $2 each. The food truck's revenue from selling a total of 209 salads and drinks in one day was $836.50. So a total of 209 salads and drinks. So salads plus drinks on that day is 209. And the revenue, $6.50 per salad plus $2 per drink was $836.50. We need to know how many salads, so we are going to solve this system of equations for S, which means I would like to eliminate D. So I'm going to multiply this by -2. -2S minus 2D equals 418. And the D's will eliminate. So $6.50 times S minus 2S, so that's 450S equals, and let's use our calculator for this part, 836.50 minus 418 is 418.50. And I can divide by 450. And I get 93. There were 93 salads sold on that day. Alma bought a laptop computer at a store that gave a 20% discount off its original price. The total amount she paid to the cashier was P dollars, including an 8% sales tax on the discounted price. Which of the following represents the original price of the computer in terms of P? Okay, so let's say that the original price is X, so X dollars. Okay, so what Alma had to pay was 20% less than X, which means she paid 80% of the price. So what she paid was 0.8 times the original price of the computer. But she also paid 8% tax on that price. So she paid 0.8x, so 80% of the original price, plus 0.08 times that new price. Okay, so we've got to make that mathematically, algebraically match one of these four options. So what I see is that both of them have a 0.8. Both terms have a 0.8, so I can factor that out. 0.8 times, and when I divide this by 0.8, I get x. When I divide this by 0.8, I get 0.08x. Okay? Now, I can get a little bit closer by dividing both sides by 0.8. Okay, so P over 0.8 equals 1 plus 0.08x. And I've actually found already that D is my only option remaining. Okay, but I'll go ahead and finish this anyway. So I've got P over 0.8 equals, and I can combine these like terms and get 1.08x. Then I could divide both sides by 1.08 and get x is P over 1.08 times 0.08, and that is the same as option D. This chart shows dreams recalled during 1 week. So the data were produced by a sleep researcher studying the number of dreams people recall when asked to record their dreams for 1 week. Group X consisted of 100 people who observed later bedtimes. So these are later, people going to bed later. Group Y consisted of 100 people with, X was the early bedtimes, Y is the later bedtimes. If a person is chosen at random from those who recalled at least one dream, what is the probability that the person belongs to group Y? So no dreams, 1 to 4 or 5 or more dreams. These people right here all recalled at least one dream. So if I'm selecting one of these people at random, what is the probability that that person comes from these people among group Y? So there's a total of 79 people here in group Y who recalled at least one dream, and then we can do 39 plus 125 on the calculator. There's 164 total who recalled at least one dream. 79 divided by 164 is, well, that's not even going to simplify, is it? I've actually already got my answer right there. Option C. Annual budgets for different programs in Kansas from 2007 to 2010. Okay, so this shows the budgets in thousands of dollars, which means each of these numbers really has 3 more zeros at the end. Which of the following best approximates the average rate of change in annual budget for agriculture and natural sciences for Kansas from 2008 to 2010? So here's 2008 and 2010. I want to find the difference. So the difference is 488,106 minus 2008, 358,708. Okay? And to find the average rate of annual increase, I'm going to divide by the number of years difference here, and that's a 2-year span from 2008 to 2010. So I've got 488,106 minus 358,708, and that's how much it went up over those 2 years. Divide by 2, and the average increase is 64,699. But again, this is in thousands, which means I need to add 3 zeros to that. So it's 64,699,000, which is closest? 65 million per year. Of the following, which program's ratio of its 2007 to 2010 budget is closest to the Human Resources Program ratio of 2007 to 2010 budget. So let's look at that human resources ratio. Okay, so 2007 to 2010 is 4051050 over 5921379. Okay, now let's just turn that into a decimal. Okay, and we get a decimal of 0.6841. Okay, now we need to find which one of these is going to be closest to that, so we're going to do the same thing for agriculture and natural resources. So we'll do 2007 divided by 2010. Okay, so here's agriculture and natural resources, 2007 divided by 2010, and we get 0.7660. Then for education, 2007 divided by 2010. And we get 0.7196. Okay, so far that's closer to what we got for the human resources. Okay, next we'll check highways and transportation. 2007 divided by 2010. And I get 0.8278. Okay, so these two are definitely ruled out. And then public safety, 2007 divided by 2010. And we get 0.5675. And which one of those is closest to 0.6841? It looks like B, education, is the closest. Which of the following is an equation of a circle in the xy plane with center 0, 4 and a radius with that endpoint? Okay, so if it's going to be the center of 0, 4, for a circle it's x minus x1 squared, and that x1 comes from the center, plus y minus y1 squared, and actually the equation is usually written as x minus h and y minus k equals r squared. Okay, so we're going to have x minus 0, which all of these show, and then y minus 4, which is only in A and C, so it's either A or C. Okay, now we need to find the radius and square it. So to find the radius, we will use the distance formula. X minus x squared. So it's this x minus this x squared, plus y minus y squared, all under a square root. So we get square root of 0 minus 4/3, okay, and then squared, so that's negative 4/3 squared, plus negative 1 squared. When I square this fraction, it becomes positive, and then 4 squared is 16, 3 squared is 9, and then negative 1 squared is 1. Okay, 1 is 9/9, so 16/9 plus 9/9 is 25/9. Okay, we could do that in the calculator also. So if we hit the math button, over to number, and then up once, we get to the bottom, n over d, and we have 16/9 plus 1 is 25/9. Square root of 25/9 is 5/3, so the radius is 5/3. but the equation calls for the radius squared, which is 25/9, option A. The equation above expresses the approximate height in meters of a ball t seconds after it is launched vertically upward from the ground with an initial velocity of 25 meters per second. After approximately how many seconds will the ball hit the ground? Okay, so in other words, when is the height 0? 0 equals negative 4.9 t squared plus 25t. Both terms have a t. I will factor that t out. 0 equals t times 4.9t plus 25. Okay, so I divided both terms by t. And now I can get my solutions by setting each of these factors equal to 0. T equals 0. So at 0 seconds, it's at the ground, which makes sense because it was launched from the ground. And then I can set this factor equal to 0, 4.9t plus 25 equals 0. And I can move that over. 4.9t equals negative 25. Okay, and actually, you know what? That was negative 4.9 right there, which means this is negative 4.9, this is negative 4.9, this is negative 4.9, and I need to divide by negative 4.9. So I have negative 25 divided by negative 4.9, and that is 5.1. So after approximately how many seconds is it back to the ground? About 5 seconds. Katrina is a botanist studying the production of pears by 2 types of pear trees. She noticed that type A trees produced 20% more pears than type B trees did. Based on Katerina's observation, if type A trees produced 144 pears, how many pears did type B trees produce? So type A produced 20% more, so that's 120% of what type B trees did. Type A trees did 144 pears. That equals 120%, or 1.2 times type B trees, which we don't know yet. But we can divide by 1.2, 144 divided by 1.2, and we see that type B trees produced 120 pears. A square field measures 10 meters by 10 meters. 10 students each mark off a randomly selected region of the field. Each region has lengths of 1 meter. So squares, 1 meter squares into a 10 by 10. So you're actually going to fit 100 square meters in there. We only used 10, but we could have fit 100. And no 2 regions overlap. The students count the earthworms contained in the soil to an inches of 5 centimeters beneath the ground surface in each region, and the results are shown in this table. Which of the following is a reasonable approximation of the number of earthworms to a depth of 5 centimeters beneath the ground surface in the entire field? So these are 10 regions. There's 100 total. So if I can find this total and just multiply it by 10, I would have the reasonable estimate. So I'll add all these up. 107 plus 147, 146, 135, 149, 141, 150, 154, 176, and 166. So I've got 1,471 earthworms found among those 10 regions. But again, at 10 by 10, there's 100 square meters to be had. So if I multiply that by 10, I get 14,710. The best estimate is about 15,000 earthworms. In the system, if the system of inequalities y is greater than 2x plus 1 and y is greater than 1/2 x minus 1 is graphed in the xy plane above, which quadrant contains no solutions to the system? So here I've got a y-intercept of 1 and a slope of 2, so up 2 over 1. and it's greater than or equal to, so it'll be a solid line. It'll look about like this. It doesn't have to be perfect. The other line is 1/2 x minus 1, so down 1, and a slope of 1/2, up 1 over 2, and it's greater than but not equal to, so it'll be dotted. Okay, now let's shade here. So this line right here, if I test the origin, I get 0 is greater than or equal to 2 times 0, which is 0, plus 1. 0 is greater than or equal to 1. Okay, that is false. 0 is not greater than or equal to 1. So this line will shade away from the origin. For this line, 0 is greater than or equal to 1/2 times 0 minus 1. 0 is greater than negative 1. That is true. This one will shade toward the origin, which is this way. And the part that got shaded twice is this. Which quadrant contains no solutions? The fourth quadrant has no solutions in it. So quadrant 4 is our answer. For the polynomial p of x, the value of p of 3 is negative 2. Which of the following must be true about p of x? So if p of 3 is negative 2, that has nothing to do with whether or not negative 2 is actually a solution or a root of the function, which means the factors are not really part of this. I don't know if negative 2 is a root, so if anything was an answer out of these, it would be x plus 2 is a factor, but this is not necessarily a root, so I don't know that this is the case. So we're going to have to go with option D. And then number 30. Which of the following is an equation, or which of the following is an equivalent form of the equation of the graph shown in the xy plane above, from which the coordinates of vertex A can be identified as constants in the equation? So what we're actually looking for, if we want to find the vertex easily, is vertex form. The vertex is right here at 1, negative 16. So I need an equation that shows me a transformation of 1 to the right and 16 down. That's this right here. Minus 1 inside of this square function is 1 to the right, and minus 16 outside of the square function is 16 down. That helps me find the vertex. And that is all for the bubble portion, so we go on to the free response part. Wyatt can husk at least 12 dozen ears of corn per hour. Based on this information, what is a possible amount of time in hours it could take Wyatt to husk 72 ears of corn? So he can husk at least 12, but at most 18. So what is a possible amount of time in hours? So if we do 72 ears divided by 12 per hour, so 72 divided by 12, we're at 6 hours. Okay, if we do 72 divided by 18, say he does his fastest possible work, 72 divided by 18, we've got 4 hours. Okay, so it could take 4, it could take 5, it could take 6 hours. In our grid, we can put a 4, we can put a 5, we can put a 6, any one of those. Just don't put all of them, because then you'd have 456 ears, or 456 hours. You can pick any one of those that says what is a possible amount of time. It could be 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. The posted weight limit for a covered wooden bridge in Pennsylvania is 6,000 pounds. A delivery truck that is carrying X identical boxes, each weighing 14 pounds, will pass over the bridge. If the combined weight of the empty delivery truck and its driver is 4,500 pounds, what is the maximum possible value for X that will keep the combined weight of the truck, driver, and boxes below the bridge's posted weight limit? So the truck with the driver is automatically 4,500 pounds. We're going to add to that 14 pounds per box, and that has to be less than or equal to the 6,000 pound limit. So we'll subtract 4,500, so 14x is less than or equal to 6,000 minus 4,500 is 1,500, and divide by 14. So 1,500 divided by 14 is 107.1. You cannot have 0.1 boxes, so the maximum number of boxes is 107. Number of portable media players sold worldwide each year from 2006 to 2011. According to that graph, the number of portable media players in 2008, so that's right here, is what fraction of the number sold in 2011? Okay, so we've got 100 in 2008, and in 2011 we've got 160. Of course, these are in millions, but we don't need to write all those extra zeros. Those will cancel, and we've got 10 over 16, and 10 over 16 can be simplified. 2 goes into 10 5 times, and into 16 8 times. So 5/8, and the way you would write that into your grid is 5, and then choose the slash and 8. A local television station sells time slots for programs in 30-minute intervals. If the station operates 24 hours per day, every day of the week, what is the total number of 30-minute time slots the station can sell for Tuesday and Wednesday? So 24 hours a day, but they're only half-hour intervals, which means you can sell 48 per day. Tuesday and Wednesday is 2 days. So multiply that by 2 days, and 48 times 2, that's 96. They can sell 96 slots. Okay, a dairy farmer uses a storage silo that is in the shape of a right circular cylinder above. If the volume of the silo is 72 pi cubic yards, what is the diameter of the base of the cylinder in yards? So we actually do need to go back and find that formula for a cylinder. Formula for volume of a cylinder is right here. Volume equals pi r squared h. Okay, so I'll write that here. Volume equals pi r squared h. Okay, so we know the volume is 72 pi. So 72 pi goes in here for V. It equals pi r squared times h, and h is the height, and that is 8. So I am going to solve for r by dividing by pi and 8. Those pi's will cancel, so I have 72 divided by 8. 72 divided by 8 is 9. So 9 equals r squared. Okay, so we can take a square root, and we're going to get 2 solutions because we have a squared here, so we get plus or minus the square root of 9. So r is plus or minus 3. Okay, now the radius can only be positive, so r is 3. But it says what is the diameter? The diameter then would be 6 yards. For what value of x is the function h above undefined? This will be undefined when the denominator is 0. So x minus 5 squared plus 4 times x minus 5 plus 4. I'll set that equal to 0. So this x minus 5 squared is x minus 5 times itself. Don't just distribute this squared and say it's x squared minus 25. That is no good. X squared minus 5x minus another 5x is minus 10x. Negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. Then I'll distribute this 4 plus 4x minus 20 plus 4 equals 0. Combine like terms, x squared. Then I have negative 10x plus 4x is negative 6x. Then I have 25 minus 20, so that's 5, plus 4 is 9. And then I can factor what multiplies to 3 and adds to negative 6. I think that's going to be negative 3 and negative 3. I'm sorry, multiplies to 9. What multiplies to 9 and adds to negative 6? Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. Negative 3 plus negative 3 is negative 6. So we have x minus 3 times x minus 3 equals 0. Okay, so to get a solution from here, what makes this equal 0? 3 does, so x is 3. Same thing here, x is 3 again. So for what value of x is this undefined? 3. Jessica opened a bank account that earns 2% interest compounded annually. Her initial deposit was $100. She uses the expression 100 times x to the t power to find the value of the account after t years. So t is years. What is the value of x? Now, x has to represent the interest. Okay, but we can't just put that 2% or 0.02 there, because that would actually give you a very much lower amount of money. So it actually has to be 102% of the original deposit to the number of years power. So that x there is going to be 1.02. Okay, so that gives you 102% of the initial deposit after, say, t is 1 year. But what about after more years? So here, Jessica's friend, Tyshawn, found an account that earns 2.5% interest compounded annually. Okay, it's going to use the same equation, the same formula. So he made an initial deposit of $100 into this account at the same time that Jessica made her $100 deposit into her account. After 10 years, how much more money will Tyshawn's initial deposit have earned than Jessica's initial deposit? Round to the nearest cent and ignore the dollar sign when you put in your response. So for Jessica, she put in $100 and has an interest rate of 2%, so it's 1.02, and we're talking about after 10 years. So let's see how much money she had after 10 years. 100 times 1.02 raised to the 10th power. She had $121.90. So $121.90. Okay, so that's what Jessica had after 10 years. But what about Tyshawn? Tyshawn put in $100, and he had a 2.5% interest rate, so that's 1.025 to the 10th power. So he had $128.01. Okay, so how much was the difference in how much they actually earned in interest? So Tyshawn got $28.01 in interest, and Jessica got $21.90 in interest, for a difference of $6.11.